In his first term in office, Jackson has shown that he is quite willing to use federal power against rebellious states and against the tribes. But on economic issues, he takes a different stance.
In 1832, Jackson was up for re-election, and Henry Clay thought he could defeat him if he only had a really strong issue. The most attractive issue to Clay was the question of the Bank of the United States. The Bank of the United States was a huge financial institution for the time. It was the only bank chartered by the federal government, but it wasn't just a branch of the government like the Federal Reserve System is today. It also operated as a private bank with primary responsibilities to make a profit for its shareholders. Well, the bank had been chartered in 1816 for 20 years, which meant that its charter would expire in 1836. The Friends of the Bank, which were basically included Northeastern merchants and other bankers, wanted the bank's charter to be renewed. Of course, there was no absolute burning reason to agitate this issue in 1832. That was a little bit early. But Clay figured that if Congress and the President refused to renew the charter, then Clay could use that as an issue for running against the President. Clay, of course, never quite got the hang of this populistic kind of politics. What he forgot was that for every banker, there was 1,000 people who had a reason to dislike the bankers.
The bill to renew the charter of the Bank of the United States passes Congress and lands on Andrew Jackson's desk on the 4th of July, 1832, just as the political campaign for his re-election is heating up.
Jackson took a week to think about it and composed a blistering veto, which no one expected him to write, in which he denounced the Bank of the United States as an engine of aristocracy. He said that the bank was mostly owned by British aristocrats and that it was being used to control the American economy and enslave the average American farmer by manipulating prices, by manipulating the value of paper money, and by interfering with the election of the people whom the average American wanted to elect, namely Andrew Jackson.
Distinctions in society will always exist under every just government. Equality of talents, of education, or of wealth cannot be produced by human institutions. But when the laws undertake to add to these natural and just advantages artificial distinctions, to make the rich richer and the potent more powerful, the humble members of society, the farmers, mechanics, and laborers, who have neither the time nor the means of securing like favors to themselves, have a right to complain of the injustice of their government. There are no necessary evils in government. Its evils exist only in its abuses. If it would confine itself to equal protection, and as heaven does its rains, shower its favors alike on the high and the low, the rich and the poor, it would be an unqualified blessing. In the act before me, there seems to be a wide and unnecessary departure from these just principles.
The national elite were appalled and horrified that the President of the United States would be stirring up vulgar popular passions with this kind of class warfare rhetoric. But Jackson did it, and he did it with magnificent success, and won the election of 1832 with a greater percentage of the vote than he'd won it the first time.